Good afternoon. I hope that you're doing well today. It's a beautiful day here in Georgia. Today's study is on Sapphire. And I had written this as a topic in my little book a while back. And never went into depth with it. But what inspired it was a spiritual dream that I had last year. And typically I don't share my dreams like that with anyone. Sometimes my husband or my mom. But I usually just write them in a book. But I guess everything in its due season, right? So I'm going to share with you a dream that I had representing sapphires, and then I'm going to go into the study. First, a disclaimer is that I am not a teacher. I don't claim to be a teacher. I'm just sharing my studies with you. I encourage you to take the scripture that I share with you and study it for yourself to see if you come to the same understanding. Don't just take my word for it. So the dream that I had was I was at this house. It was supposed to, I guess, be my mom's house, but it was different. It's different than where she lives. And it was a fairly big space. Like in the living room, there was a lot of people coming over and getting preparations ready for this big event that we were going to have for her. We were getting everything prepared, like a celebration. And some time had went by and she hadn't come home yet, and it was starting to get dark outside, but not quite dark yet. And so I decided to go outside and walk around the yard. And my cousin was out there, and this cousin in real life is actually incarcerated. But in my dream, he had met me out in the front yard, and I told him that we needed to go on a walk and that I needed to tell him some things that had been going on that he needed to know. So as we start walking out of the yard, out in the middle of nowhere, we start walking up like this narrow road. It's like a narrow paved road. And it's like in this old city that's got like old architecture, like these old buildings. And these buildings are like in rows of three. So it's like 3 houses or buildings in one section, a little road between it, 3 houses over here, a little road between it, and 3 houses or buildings, maybe businesses, like old ones, at the very end of the street. And so there's 3 sets of those 3 houses or buildings, and as we're walking, there's a parking lot in front of it, and it's like people are laying all around. They're crying, they're talking crazy stuff, like almost like they're zombies or something, like they're all drugged up or something, and they're all crying out. And there's girls that are like half dressed that have like mascara running down their face, and there's men that are just like it's like they've been on drugs. There's like syringes and stuff laying around. And anyways, we're trying to help these people, but they don't want help. And so we continue to kind of like step through them, like over top of them. And we continue to walk down the street. And we get to the end of the street in the last sections of the building, the last 3 buildings. And the very last building that we come to on that corner, it's like a black building, and I believe it had a red door. And so I opened that door, and me and my cousin, we walk through it into a foyer. And in this foyer, I look to the right immediately, and there's some symbolism on towels that are hanging to the right, like the one-eye symbolism stuff. Okay. Anyway, so this lady comes running out of nowhere, and she's all frantic, and she's asking my cousin, "Have you seen my little kid? Have you seen my baby? He's about this tall." And we're like, what kind of baby would be that tall? It's like what she was explaining was really weird. But it's like at the same time I had a vision of what she was saying, and it wasn't human. So we're like, no, we haven't seen that. And so she proceeds to walk up a flight of stairs in front of me, and I'm behind her, and my cousin's behind me. And then as we're walking up the steps, all of a sudden, there's a man dressed in black, and all I see is the back side of him. He's got dark hair, and he has a black suit on, so he's in all black. And I knew that it was Hashatan, like I knew it was Satan. Never seen his face, but he was enticing this woman to keep on with what she was talking about. And it's like all of a sudden I felt this power come over me, and I took him by the back of his suit jacket, and I pulled him back, and I slung him out the window of this tall building, and he flew out the window onto the ground, and everybody disappeared that was in the building with me. And I kind of look around, and I proceed to turn around the corner and walk up to the next flight of steps. And as I do, all of a sudden, I turn blue. Like, I have this beautiful blue light around me, and I had these wings come out. They were huge, and they were like full on the tips of them of these beautiful, clear, blue, sapphire, sparkly gems that I've never seen anything so beautiful in my earthly life, okay, as these gems that were on these wings that I had. And then I woke up after that, and the rest of that day I had this electrifying feeling going on in my body. It's crazy, but I just felt really good, right? So then last week I had a dream that I was out in my backyard, like where we live at now, which is only got, the four corners. We're in a very small little neighborhood, and we've got this fence, as you can see. So over here to this back corner, it's like I was digging for something. I had my little digging tools, and I was digging for something, and the next thing I know, I have this beautiful sapphire stone, and I'm holding it like this, right? I'm holding it like this in the yard, just admiring how beautiful it is. And it was huge, like this width, right, is how I'm holding it. And it had these like jagged edges on it that were so sparkly, and it was just so bright and blue. And then I woke up from that. But anyways, I shared that because I thought it was just really cool. And so sapphire, Hebrew word for sapphire, sapphire, and that is spelled Samek Pei Yod Resh. It's Hebrew Strong's 5601. In Greek, it's pronounced Saphiros, which is Greek Strong 4552. And then I included a stone here, which is Abin, and that is spelled Aleph Bet Nun final. That is the Hebrew Strong 68, and that means stone. So let's take a look at what definitions we have, what scripture we have, and some different interesting things to talk about with sapphire. So, sapphire. It means to listen and repeat. It can be a gem, perhaps used for scratching other surfaces. It can mean beauty or splendor. Its root word is sapphire. Sapphire means to count, to number, to take account of, or count accurately. A sapphire, which I've also found another word for, which was lazurite, is a Hebrew girl name meaning gem or beautiful. The noun is a clear, deep blue variety of corundum, valued as a precious stone. 49 times Scripture mentions a perfect, pure blue, a color so magnificent and transcendent that it was all but impossible to describe. So the Hebrew word tehelet is what they call biblical blue, and it was a dye highly prized by the ancients. It made me think of the other day I did a study on the Rose of Sharon, and that there was a blue dye that they would extract from this flower. Anyways, I don't know if that's connected or not, but I just found that interesting. So in Shemoth, which is Exodus chapter 24, verse 9 through 10, and Moshe went up, and also Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Yasharel, which is Israel. And they saw the Elohim of Yasharel, and under his feet like a paved work of sapphire stone, and like the Shemayim, the heaven, for brightness. So it could represent a spirit that's been cleansed of impurity, of all stain and corruption, all sins of the flesh. Under his feet is the foundation, right? The earth is his footstool. Aaron was the first high priest, and the breastplate that was made for him included the sapphire. And that's also has the Strong's number 5601 for sapphire. Shemoth, Exodus chapter 28, verse 17 through 18, the breastplate of right ruling. And ye shall put mountings of stones in it, 4 rows of stones. The first row is a ruby, a topaz, an emerald. The second row is a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the next couple of verses list the rest of the stones, and they are according to the names of the sons of Yasharel, Israel. 12 according to their names, like the engraving of a signet, each one with its own name. Shemoth, Exodus chapter 39, verses 10 through 11. Moshe makes the breastplate as Yahweh has instructed him, and they filled it with 4 rows of stones. A row of ruby, a topaz, and emerald was the first row. The second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The next couple of verses list the rest of the stones as in chapter 28, and it tells again according to the 12 sons of Yasharel. And Yeshayahu, which is Isaiah chapter 54, verse 11. In chapter 54, this passage starts out by saying, "Sing, O barren one, you who did not bear." Yahweh goes on to say that in verse 8, "An overflow of wrath, I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting kindness I shall have compassion on you, says Yahweh your Redeemer." Waters are mentioned in verse 9 that we know are blue, above us and below us. Verse 11, "O you afflicted one, tossed with the storm and not comforted. See, I shall lay your stones in emeralds and your foundations with sapphires, and shall make your battlements of rubies, your gates of crystal, and all your walls of precious stones." So we have stones, Strong 68, which is Abaniak, and 5601, which is Sapphire, sapphire, foundations. In Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 26, Ezekiel saw the Shamayim, the heaven open, and saw visions of Elohim. He also heard the noise of many waters when he saw the 4 living creatures. In verse 26, and above the expanse over their heads was the likeness of a throne, and the appearance like a sapphire stone. And on the likeness of the throne was a likeness as the appearance of a man high above it. We see above their heads was like sapphire, and the throne, they were under Yahweh. They sounded like water. Ezekiel chapter 10, verse 1. And I looked and saw in the expanse that was above the head of the cherubim, like a sapphire stone, having the appearance of the likeness of a throne. Ezekiel 28, verse 12 through 13. You were in Eden, Adon, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering. The ruby, topaz, diamond, beryl, shoham, jasper, sapphire, turquoise, emerald, and gold. The workmanship of your collets and mountings was prepared for you on the day that you were created. The anointed cherub that covered walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. In verse 16, it says, because of the violence of his trading, profaned his sanctuaries. This could be a duality or representation to both Hashatan, Satan, and the king of Tyre. The covering of the king of Tyre, who is the ally of the King David and Solomon, was Eharam. And the kingdom of Tyre is said to be represented by Satan and is on the Mediterranean coast of southern Lebanon. The description in Exodus and Ezekiel is the foundation on which Yahweh's throne rests. The dark blue firmament with its golden stars is compared to a floor inlaid with sapphires. Eyoth, which is Job, chapter 28, verses 6, and then I have 16. The earth out of which grows food is turned underneath as by fire. Its stones are the place of sapphires, and it has dust of gold. Verse 16. It is not valued in the gold of Ophir, and precious shoham, or sapphire. In Shar Harashim, which is the Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 14, his hands are rods of gold filled with beryl. His body is carved ivory, covered with sapphires. in some versions. It says lapis lazuli. His body is covered in righteousness and truth. It is royal and precious. Which is Lamentations chapter 4 verse 7. Her Nazarites were brighter than snow and whiter than milk, more ruddy in body than rubies. They're cut like sapphire. Like sapphire. The precious stones have been scattered. They've chased after other idols. They've been impure, and they've become black as soot. As if you keep reading, this is what it describes. Unrecognized in the street. It could reference the vow to bodily purity, walking in the ways of uprightness, yashar. The stones, right? Hebrews Strong 68. How dim has the gold become? How changed the fine gold? The stones scattered it hid over the street. Sirach chapter 43 is talking about the pride of heights, the clear expanse, the loveliness, the shamayim, the heaven, with his esteemed display. The firmament is full of his beauty, the beauty of the shamayim, which is the heavens, with the spectacle of glory. The firmament, which is arrayed with beauty, may be like a spirit that is marked by purity. The hoar frost he pours out like salt and makes the crystals sparkle like sapphire. Tobiah, which would be Tobit, chapter 13, verse 15 through 16. Let my being, Barak, bless Elohim, the great sovereign, for Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, shall be built up with sapphires and emeralds and precious stones, your walls and towers and battlements with pure gold, pure and true. Enoch, which is Enoch, chapter 18. Enoch is describing all the treasuries of the wind and how Yahweh furnished them with them the whole creation and the firm foundations of the earth. So verses 6 through 8. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the Shamayim above, and I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east, 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east, one was of colored stone, and one was of pearl, one of jacinth, and those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one, reached the Shamayim like a throne of Elohim of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was sapphire, true sapphire. Revelation, Hasan, chapter 9, verse 17. And this is how I saw the horses and the vision. This is Yohanan when he saw the vision. The horses and the vision, and those who sat on them, having breastplates of fiery red and hyacinth blue and sulfur yellow. And the heads of the horses were like the head of lions, and out of their mouths came fire and smoke and sulfur. Some attribute to the representation of the planets, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, the appearance of, right? Not true, but the appearance of. Hasan, Revelation chapter 21, verse 19. This is talking about the new city, right? And the foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation, jasper. The second, sapphire. The third, agate. The fourth, emerald. This is the true sapphire. So, there are 2 types of sapphire. The genuine sapphire is a hyaline corundon of beautiful blue color. It is composed of nearly pure alumina, its color being due to the presence of oxide of iron. Lapis lazuli, which is a blue stone speckled with shining pyrites, which give it the appearance of being sprinkled with gold dust. That stone is associated with royalty, deities, Egyptian-made blue cosmetics. The 5th stone in Exodus 28:19, 39:13 is representing the tribe of Dan. In Ezekiel 28, we see it's the 7th stone. In Revelation 21:19, it's the second foundational stone. Psalm 118:22 says, "The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone, our true Sapphire, our Sapphire, our Messiah." Some facts. Sapphire is the third hardest mineral. Sapphires are used for jewelry, used to create scientific instruments, very thin electronic wafers, which are used as the insulating substrates of special purpose solid state electronics, such as integrated circuits and a GaN-based blue LED. That sounds really smart. Infrared optical components, high durability windows, wristwatch crystals, and movement bearings, cutting and polishing tools, and it's insoluble. At 1,404.49 carats, the Star of Adam is the largest known blue star sapphire. The oval-shaped blue star sapphire was found in 2015 in Sri Lanka. It was named by its owner, and it was found in Ratnapurna. It has been said the 10 Commandments were etched into sapphire stone. When you read Exodus or Shemoth, chapters 34, verse 10, under Yahuwah's feet, it was paved like a work of sapphire stone. Then Yahuwah had given Moshe the tablets of stone. Could there be a connection? I don't know, but wouldn't that be beautiful? It has been said sapphire means truth, faithfulness, and sincerity, and is associated with divine favor. The definitive source of blue sapphire is in Ceylon, today Sri Lanka. And it's interesting because, like the cinnamon that I did a study on a few weeks ago, if anyone watched that, Ceylon, the cinnamon harvesters are above the ground taking the inner bark from the topmost branches of the trees. And far below them in the rich soil are the beautiful gemstones, the one that they call the garnet, which is a mix of ruby and sapphires. How awesome is that? The Ceylon cinnamon, the Ceylon sapphires. King Solomon, another interesting, it's been said, King Solomon courted the king of Saba by giving him sapphires from Ratnapur. Saba in Hebrew is the kingdom, it means grandfather, which is the kingdom of the queen of Saba or Sheba. And it is said that Solomon had a seal of Solomon ring that gave him power to command the demons and to speak to animals. It was inscribed with the Star of David. It is said that he used the power to seduce the Queen of Sheba. I don't know that to be factual. I'm just sharing with you. It was very interesting. There's a machine called a tropique, which that of the main pinion of the machine used for the extraction of juice from sugar cane contains the sapphire. That's located in Asia. Almost done. In conclusion, we see the sapphire or sapphire as a precious stone of one of our creators. It explains why there's blue in the sky, the blue oceans. It represents that Yeshua is our true chief cornerstone, beautiful, upright, pure, and he wants to polish off our soot from laying in them streets and place us in a beautiful pavement on the path to our Father's beautiful and righteous sapphire throne. Ezekiel 11:19, and I will give them one heart, and I will put a new ruha, spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and I will give them a heart of flesh, a purified, tried through the fire, polished, true, upright heart. So we're going to take a look real quick, and then I'm going to end with this. Sapphire, when we break the letters apart, okay, Samek, Pei, Yod, Resh. I'm going to be looking down at my notebook and over here. Samek. Samek, that letter could stand for eternity, a shield. Yahuwah protects his bride. Pei, a new life, a breakthrough. Yod, the fiery hand of Yahuwah, have been tried through the fire, a finished work. Resh, a poor, humble in spirit. The beginning of wisdom is knowing that we need Yahuwah, our inheritance. We take a look at the stone that's spelled Aleph, Bet, Nun, final, the Abin. Aleph is King, Infinite One, the first. Biet is tense, picture of a floor plan. Nun final. Nun means an heir, banner, victory, new life. What I like to add to it, I shouldn't say add to it, but the thought came to me, Nun final, right? He is the final, he's the ending. He is the Aleph and the Ta, the beginning and the end. Everything comes back to him. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this study and have a wonderful weekend and a beautiful day. Shalom, shalom.